Dynamite 300 last night was an insanely good show. As expected, really. AEW truly is where the best wrestle, and if you're still in denial of that, stop lying to yourself, really. Stop. We're going to cover what happened last night on Dynamite 300 and all the build-up that we're continuing to see for All In, which is now only 9 days away at the time of you watching this video. All of that here on Screw the Script. Start off the show, we had a solid promo by Hangman Adam Page coming out, calling out Jon Moxley, basically calling him a bitch, which is, essentially, he's been a coward hiding behind his entire squad and the Death Riders, dodging everybody that challenges him. You saw it with Samoa Joe. You're seeing it now with Adam Page. This was a great segment, and it led into a stipulation. Now, to me, this was a lateral move. I was already excited for this match. I just want to see Hangman as champ for a second time, and Moxley finally dropped this title. It didn't need to become a Texas death match, in my opinion. I don't hate it. I don't love it. Like I said, just a lateral move. It'll still be a good match. I don't think it's going to deter anything, and I don't think it's going to add much other than we now know that Jon Moxley is going to be bleeding 30 seconds in. But, jokes aside, great opening segment. Then you saw him get under the skin of Moxley. The Death Riders, Samoa Joe came out. Everybody kind of got into a tussle and a quick fight. And then you saw the highlight, in my opinion, the highlight of this whole segment when I can't remember verbatim what Hangman said, but he said something along the lines of like, do you want to see how ready I am for you, how I'm not going to hold anything back to get that title off of you? And then he hits a buckshot lariat.
In case you needed a reminder that I'd do anything that it takes.
Oh, no. Oh,
my God. On Marina Shafir, which had the crowd just pop like crazy. And I myself felt so satisfied, which is weird to say because, it's male competitor on female competitor violence there, but it's storyline purposes, obviously. But it just felt satisfying because Moxley's been hiding behind her so many times. And at this point, Hangman was like, you know what? If you're going to keep hiding behind her, I'll just go through her. That's what he did. It's a great opening segment to build for the main event at All In. Then we saw Mercedes Moné and Mina in a really good Dynamite title match. We did see, at the end, the only drawback that I have, and this is just me nitpicking, the only drawback that I have from this match was the fact that we all knew that Mercedes wasn't going to drop the title 10 days before All In. Because right now, Mercedes and Toni Storm, I'd say, is 1B. 1A is Mox and Hangman for that title because Moxley's had it for so long, and everybody's hoping to see him drop it. But then you have, this is arguably probably going to be the biggest women's title match in AEW's history, just with how decorated Mercedes is. And Toni Storm, and I'll say it again, is the best thing in women's pro wrestling right now, and arguably the best thing in all of pro wrestling. So that's going to be a great match as well. An interesting thing that I noted, and I kind of called it before the match concluded, Toni Storm was on the side watching this match, and she had a steak dinner. As the match started, I made the prediction, you know what, with how she's reacting to seeing Mercedes and her, all of her titles around her waist and shoulders when she came out, she's not going to take a bite of that food. And at the end, it looked like she didn't touch it because she is in, she seems like she's afraid. She doesn't seem to have confidence in herself to beat Mercedes. Just masterful storytelling once again by Toni Storm. It seems like she can do no wrong with feuds. I mean, when this feud is over, she's just going to get into another great feud with somebody else. I was worried that the AEW women's division was going to miss Mariah May. I don't think they do. I think Toni Storm has the talent to elevate anybody that she's feuding with, including somebody as decorated as Mercedes. And after this is all said and done, it'll just move on to yet another great feud with somebody else. Tekla is my guess. So, great match, great segment with Toni Storm. Let's move on. We had a quick segment with the Young Bucks. Just a vignette, like video of them returning to their hometown because it wasn't far away from where they were last night in Ontario, California. It very much felt like BTE. It really, really made me want BTE back. Say what you want about the Young Bucks, but personally, I think BTE was one of the most entertaining things on YouTube in a long time. And obviously, much like many other people, myself included, that's how I really started following the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega and all those guys well before AEW was a thing, well before that first All In that they did. They started, I think, in like 2017, 2016, somewhere around there on YouTube for BTE. And right around then is when I really started to expand my pro wrestling outside of just WWE. I started to watch New Japan. I started to watch all these indie promotions on top of WWE. And then, lo and behold, later on in BTE's history, we saw the growth and the debut, the birth, basically, of AEW. And then we saw Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay challenge them, and they kind of reworded. So they're not trying to take the EVP titles from them and become EVP titles. They're just trying to take it away from them. So that's to kind of clarify it. Makes it a little less predictable, because last week when they stated it, I thought that's what they meant, and I was like, there's no way Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland are going to become EVPs. This is an obvious outcome now for this match. But now it's less obvious, because Will Ospreay made the decision without consulting Swerve, you could tell, to counter that if they lost, they couldn't challenge for the world title for a whole year. So now it's EVP titles versus no title shot for a whole year if you lose. Interesting stipulation. I don't know if I've ever seen a stipulation like that, quite like that exactly, in any other promotion. We've had, career versus career matches, I quit matches, and things like that. But, putting up your EVP titles versus challenging the main title for a year, that's quite different, and I liked it. The 4-way match was really good as well for the number 2 spot in the men's gauntlet match. We did see the outcome that we kind of all expected, which was MJF winning. But nonetheless, a lot of good spots in the match. And the entire time I was watching, I was like, yep, this is reassuring me that this is where the best wrestle. We already saw a great title match prior to this, and now we're having a fantastic fatal 4-way match. MJF came out on top. It really is starting to look like they're building him to be the guy again. And if Hangman wins at All In, I think we're going to see an MJF and Adam Page feud for a second time. If he keeps using the aid of the Hurt Syndicate to, bring him back to the top, to the world title picture, I can see it happening. Heroes versus villains, trios match. This was the only match of the night that, obvious outcome, and it was fine for what it was. The other tag match was better, but this one was still fine. We saw the Young Bucks win with Takeshita, and I love Takeshita. He really added to that match. I think he was the highlight for me in that match more than anything. But then, after the match is when the more important stuff happened, which I already touched base on with Swerve and Ospreay coming out. Then the main event, we had Okada and Ibushi, first time on American soil on AEW TV, and it was one to remember. Also, the entire time I was watching this, I was like, there is stuff happening in this match that you would never see over in WWE anymore because they just don't allow it. They think it's too dangerous. And the whole like longevity thing that I pointed out in my last video, it's not working out for them. They're still getting injuries left and right. In fact, I feel like they have more key injuries right now than AEW does. So like, you know, that kind of proves my point that just because you're going to have your wrestlers wrestle less often and do a lot less moves in the ring and safer moves in the ring, it's still wrestling. Like you're still gonna get hurt. What good has it really done? You know, and that's kind of how it feels over in WWE, where like you're restricting your wrestlers from doing certain moves. You're only allowing them to do a certain set of moves. It feels like everybody over there only has like 5 moves in their finishers. I mean, I'm just pointing out what I see weekly on Raw, and even in their PLEs. But trying too hard on that, I feel like it's causing the wrestlers to not have good conditioning anymore. They're not used to taking the bumps because they hardly take bumps anymore. And so their bodies aren't used to the impact that it once was, and they're getting injured still. And we're seeing it left and right. So yeah, back to the main event. I mean, we saw something like this.
On the Continental.
Yeah, exactly. You won't see a tiger driver off the top rope to a wrestler over in WWE. Certainly never on a weekly episode of Raw or SmackDown or even NXT for that matter. Maybe during a PLE, but even that's a long shot these days for WWE. That was a great move, and that wasn't even the finish. They went on for a few minutes longer, I believe. Okada does pick up the win, and then they jump Kota Ibushi at the end. And just as I predicted on social media, I was saying there's no way that Kenny Omega doesn't show up when they're, 10 days away from AEW. This is the moment that he shows up. And he showed up, saved Kota Ibushi. The crowd went nuts, like nuclear. And the build for All In is one of the best builds that they've ever had. You've got the main title, the women's main title, and now this, which is like 1B title in the men's division with the Unified Championship. And you're going to see, if any of you listening and watching this have never seen one of the Okada and Omega matches over in New Japan, you're going to be in for one hell of a treat in 9 days' time when these two go one-on-one for that title. They have some of the best ring chemistry you will ever see. And you'll understand after All In. That's all I had on Screw the Script. Overall, one of the best Dynamites of the year. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. There's only a few nitpicks that I had, but outside of that, it was a really good show. The 2 hours flew by. I think it went about 2 hours, 15 minutes actually with that main event. But even then, it felt like barely over an hour. And that's how most Dynamites feel. It goes like that because I'm so entertained. It brings that true saying that like time flies when you're having fun. It flies for me every time I'm watching Dynamite because it's so damn fun. It's such good product. I am so glad that we have AEW as competition and just an alternate thing to watch. This has been Maverick with Screw the Script. Thanks for watching.